So what does astrology do but bring the dark and light together? So you're in the dark, you've got your sunglasses on, and then someone brings the light and says, let me explain your character so you can finally get comfortable and accept the job description you signed up for.
Welcome to the Deja Blu Podcast, where we believe that living a life of magic can be the default. Join us each week as we playfully and authentically dive into the mysteries of life and explore what it truly means to be human. From spirituality, wellness, and all things taboo, we don't hold anything back. So without further ado, let's let the magic unfold. I am so excited to tell you and let you know that Fluorescence, the modern mystery school that I co-founded alongside Reggie Riverbear, we are finally launching another round of our online container. 7 weeks, deep dive into creating the pillars of the temple of our life to allow ourselves to align with a life of absolute magic. This course is action-packed with everything that has supported me and Reggie on our paths to align ourselves with the life of our dreams, and being able to create this space alongside other sisters that are on a similar path of transformation, excavation, recalibration, alignment, and service. This is one of the most transformational spaces that I know of, and so it is truly an honor to welcome you as we are in our enrollment right now. So go to the show notes in the link of this video, and you can explore a little bit more about what Fluorescence is, what it is that we are offering, and it would be truly an honor to go on this journey with you. Hello, you beautiful humans, and welcome back to another episode of the Deja Blu Podcast. I have been giggling since the moment that this majestic human entered into my house, and I'm also reveling at the excitement of the intuition that has guided her so effortlessly and so quickly onto the Deja Blu Podcast set. So just to give a little bit of a background, this woman has been mentioned multiple times and has started circulating in my field of awareness. And through mutual friends, we had the blessing of being able to be connected, but it wasn't actually through the mutual friends. It was because we were both interviewed on Gaia TV on the same day.
It's so true.
And we ended up having dinner that evening and getting to connect over sisterhood and a great meal and just shared stories and conversation. And instantly I just felt such a deep resonance. My nervous system fully relaxed in her presence. I also became such a student by everything that you were sharing, and being able to learn a little bit more about what it truly means to be an oracle of the stars and to be able to translate a message that is so important for us to be able to have context of who it is that we are on the inside and how that connects with what is going on outside of ourselves too. And the importance of context, the importance of actually having some sort of grounding in the navigation of our internal waters so that we can actually learn to create an internal projection onto external reality and therefore be able to soften in the crunch and in the ecstasy simultaneously. So this woman has led thousands of people, hundreds of thousands of people around the world into a deeper level of their connection with astrology. She is also an author of The Missing Element, which is an incredible book that I have right here, and we're going to talk about that in a little bit. She's also a guide, a mentor, a sister, and all of the things in between, and just truly an inspiration to me through the way that there is so much depth and so much levity in her message of being able to translate what the stars have to say. And so, Debra Silverman, it is such an honor and a gift to have you here on the Deja Blu Podcast.
Thank you so much. As you were doing that prayer, I could see your chart in my head, which is why I put my sunglasses on, because you're so bright.
This is the thing, right? So we've established that Debra is actually the triple OG of astrology. And triple OG of astrology who lives in Hawaii, it makes perfect sense that she comes on the podcast with sunglasses on.
Am I your first sunglass podcast interviewee? I am.
I can hear like Snoop Dogg music playing in the background, like na 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 na. And I just got the glasses on. Thank you so much for gracing us with your presence.
Well, let's tell the whole story. Out of the blue, pun included, I got this. What is it called? DM, PM.
Yeah, it's a DM.
Help me, because I'm not. I'm older than I look.
Gosh, slid into those DMs like a slip and slide. I was like, whoop.
And it said, "Would you be interested in being on my podcast in person in LA?" And I had just bought my ticket.
Right, almost like in that moment.
Like in the day, within that day. So I was like, well, this is synchronicity if I've ever heard of it. And by the way, I'm staying in the Pacific Palisades.
Literally, like 15 minutes down
That's
the road.
just the craziest story. But that was all you. Your intuition went off. You took an action step.
Mm-hmm.
I responded, and here we sit.
I just love it.
Oh, you can't make this up. You have to wonder. I mean, I wish the whole world, your chart has 4 planets in the house of the futurist. Did you know that?
The helpful planets in the house of what?
Of the futurist.
Oh,
The person that's preparing, came from the future and is working backwards. So you've already seen and you brought to us the template of what is going to be setting up for where we're going. That's your chart. It's a futurist. Is that a surprise?
It's not a surprise, and simultaneously it's kind of mind-blowing. So it like they sit side by side of like, oh yeah, of course, and oh wow.
And because I love that we have not yet done a reading, so I get to introduce you to astrology in this language in a way that's current. So you are a futurist, and you have Mars and Gemini, which is the wordsmith. Who prays like that? Your prayer, I just wanted to say, why are we doing the podcast? Why don't you just do prayers for a podcast?
Yeah.
Have you thought about that?
Actually, yes, like to do like either a book of prayers or like an audio collection
Ooh,
bundle.
I'm so good at this. Okay, so one.
You are so good at this. You deserve to wear sunglasses inside. Like you literally
I wear my
have
sunglasses at night. Okay, so we're going to be doing a very funny podcast. I hope you're up for this. First of all, 4 planets in the 11th house, which is the house of the futurist. Why? Because the number 11, how everyone loves 1111. This is a big moment in our history that we're starting to consider. Nothing even, nothing odd goes in that number. It's a very unique number that stands apart from everyone else. So your chart has this uniqueness with 4 planets in the 11th house that is in Scorpio. So it's deep, futuristic, non-traditionalist who says, who told us we have to be anything they told us to do? I am not doing it. So there. Welcome to Blue.
I hope my mum's watching this and be like, I didn't have a choice, man.
That's why I love doing astrology for children. This is why it's so important, because if a mom knew, I would have said to her, your daughter cannot follow. I'm so sorry. She's funny, she's blunt, and she's got so much chi, and she hears things no one else hears. I'm sorry.
Oh. All right, you're blasting my heart wide open with such a deep resonance. One of the great...
Black and white. Is anybody noticing? We did this on purpose. Not really. It was synchronistic. The whole thing's been synchronistic. So the point of that story is you come with a different template. And the gift you've given to us is allowing us to see it through your eyes, through your experience, and then upscaling, standing up into a higher frequency so we can match you. So I imagine sometimes it's a little lonely over there because you're in a world that's so... But don't you have a twin?
No, I have a brother. He's 3 years older than me.
Okay, but see, you don't have a twin. But it would be good if you did, because it's so unusual. You're in a sphere or a frequency, in a stratosphere that's not anyone here. So I just want to say thank you. Yes, thank you for hearing and seeing the world differently and introducing us to our family with your new template. Because boy, do we need a new template.
I feel so seen. It's like the greatest gift you could ever give anyone.
My sunglasses.
No.
Oh my God, they are so good on you.
Yeah? Are we vibing?
Ooh.
Let's go.
So what does astrology do but bring the dark and light together? So you're in the dark, you've got your sunglasses on, and then someone brings the light and says, let me explain your character so you can finally get comfortable and accept the job description you signed up for. Okay, you can give them back. You want to wear them?
Hold on, I just have to do make sure you get this in the podcast.
Oh my God, I love that so much. She's got a little bit of Leo, Moon and Jupiter in Leo. Just saying.
You really are the OG of astrology. I first and foremost, I want to pick on the point. I was in my bedroom and it was like, I was just like doing something the most mundane thing, like walking to the bathroom. And all of a sudden it was like, Debra Silverman. Ding!
That's
It was
so
like an
impressive.
antenna. And so I found you on Instagram and it slid real hard into your DMs. And the fact of the alignment of how this happened, then reached out to the production team and they were like, yeah, we're available. We can make it happen, which is also an off chance in such short notice. Everything, literally the stars aligned. And now you've just beamed in from the cosmos and landed on this golden hand and then delivered a message directly into my heart within the first 30 seconds of the podcast.
Yes, and I want.
Are we in a twilight zone?
We're in
right
a
now?
twilight zone. I want to say that you don't do time, and you are operating, and you're inviting us into a completely different frequency. And I am up for the game.
I feel it.
Yeah.
From the second I saw you downstairs, and your smile and your radiance and your aura and your presence and the way everyone was lit up when that were in your parameter, I was like, oh, it's my sister right there.
I'm so grateful. So grateful.
Such a gift to have you here today.
And astrology came to me when I was only this big. So it's not like I had to figure this out. It's been in my bones. Someone said that downstairs. It's been with me since I was a child.
How does it show up for you as a child?
The very first time, believe it or not, this is such a funny story. I was looking through the Detroit News at 10 years old in the comic section, because what does a 10-year-old look at? And there was an astrology, I don't even understand this because this is in the 60s, before any of you were born. And there was an astrology ad that said, get your chart done. So my little pencil and my little cute writing, it's such a good memory. I remember it, putting in my name, because I didn't know how to do that, mailed it in. And then the sad part is when the chart came back, I put the wrong birth. I had something I did wrong, so it wasn't the right chart, but it was my first word. Astrology came to me at 10. Fast forward, I was in high school, and I had a few friends, as you can imagine, because I have this little Gemini personality. So I went and got this book called Astrology Tells You Your Moon Sign. And I knew every kid's moon sign. I was obsessed at a very young age. And then by the time I was 18, 19, I went to the first astrologer, and she looked at my chart and said, you should be a dancer. And I was a dancer from the age of 5. I went to university to study dance. So I was like, how did you know that? And it began my fascination and search. Sure enough, I've never stopped staring at the stars. Wait. I need my sunglasses. Hold on a second.
Yeah.
That's all I do. So I'm obsessed. It was a mission, not unlike you. I think this is true of you. Certain beings come in, I'm sure this is true of you, with the memory or the promise. Mm-hmm. And there's not a lot of people that have this, which makes me sad. Most people on this planet are born without the memory or the delineation, the distinction of what they came to do. And that's where I come in. Because astrology, as you can see, I can look at your chart in the first few minutes and go, let me explain what your promise was. And there's a relief that happens to your point about the nervous system. Because when someone can give you permission to be who you are and articulate it and then describe it, and I can't believe I'm the first astrologer on your podcast.
I know, right?
Because it's a lost art. That's the craziest thing. It's been here for 4,000 years. It's the oldest science on earth. Somebody write that down.
Didn't the wise men find Jesus because of the stars?
Hello? My point. And so it's been here forever, and yet it's gotten discolored because when religion came in and they said, no, you can't know who you are. You can't be different. You can't figure out your uniqueness. You got to follow. You would never have done very good in that era. They're going to be like, Blue, where'd she go? Uh-oh, they banished her.
Yeah, right, straight up.
That's
she's
what
on
happened.
That pyre being burnt right now.
That's what would have happened.
Off she goes
and that's
to the
what
next.
happened to so many eras. So we're in the first time in history, I'd like to call it her story, not his story.
Please.
First time in her story that we don't have to be scared to tell people that I'm an astrologer. And I've trained thousands of women to be able to use stars. And there's no one being scared anymore. I know. What a great job description. So if you're confused or you don't know what you're supposed to be doing this lifetime, you call an astrologer and they look at your chart and they say, 5 planets in the 11th house. You came this life to be a futurist. You've got the gift of the gab, Mars and Gemini. You're Sag rising. If you're not laughing, you're going home. And you've got Jupiter and Leo. You know how to dress up.
Shimmer for the podcast, darling. I think I meet you in that space, no?
I think we already did that.
Yeah. So I'm really loving the periodic dance breaks that we're having. It was important. How do you feel like astrology is going to support with the evolutionary shift that we are experiencing in human consciousness as we are evolving beyond just survival into thriving?
I have an obsession with climate crisis. Yeah. It's something
and that's big here in the book.
It's in my podcast even more. And I am concerned about the transition that's going to occur, which no one talks about, but we are going to have an alteration of this reality, and we will have to live communally, and we'll have to know how to live off the land. There's going to be a big change. So what astrology does is it gives you the gift of, what's my contribution? What's my unique strand? How do I give myself permission to speak my words and be my person without all the noise? So I'm writing a new book. Ready? Title of the new book, I Don't Believe in Astrology.
Yeah. It's the name of your podcast too. It's perfect.
I love saying it. If I had a nickel for how many people have said to me throughout my lifetime, because I'm an OG. So when I started, that little girl, people thought I was nuts, that I was going to graduate school to become a clinical psychologist and use astrology. They were like, what are you doing? Now you can imagine my supervisors, everyone thought but now you're allowed to. And in preparation for the future, we need to know, what did I sign up for? Who am I?
Mm-hmm.
How do I fulfill my purpose as we go into this scary era? What will I do to keep my nervous system grounded? How will I be able to find my own natural rhythm? How do I stay true to me, whether I'm a recluse or whether I'm an extrovert, whether I need to talk or whether I need to be silent? Like, who am I? And that's the answer to the question of how we get to the future. Be yourself. Everyone else is taken.
Says it on the front. A quote by Sting that gave you a book review that is now on the front of your book, which I love. His music's amazing. Debra Silverman reminds you what fun it is to be you, the singular, freakish, awkward you. And she also reminds you of your potential, of your gifts to the world, and of your place in it. And so this is an extension of the belief or the narrative that if you want to genuinely contribute to the collective healing, recognizing that your vibrational state is your contribution to the collective. And so by understanding and having context for not only the shadow, but the gift as well, then when it shows up, there's like a softening that happens.
Compassion's the word.
Mm-hmm.
Like, think about it. Every human on this planet suffers. Ding, 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 a little bit of clearing throat. Every human on this planet suffers because there's an internal dialogue that says the meanest things. Mm-hmm. It's unbelievable when you don't catch it and it starts to operate at your unconscious level and it starts to nibble. I call them gremlins. And then when the awareness comes on and you realize that you're totally lovable and that you're divine and that you're exactly what your chart was supposed to be. And by the way, there is no return on this policy. You get one character for this lifetime. Suddenly something shifts for people and they start falling in love right in front of me. I watch people in my classes fall in love with themselves. Like, where once that internal dialogue, those mean voices, everyone suffers. You look in the mirror before you put the makeup on.
Right.
And the first thing in the morning, you're like, especially as you start aging, it's a whole nother conversation. And then there's a softening. Like, wait a minute, because my ego has now been put in her seat and I figured out my chart, I have my soul's voice and she loves me. Mm-hmm. And by the way, you make love with your eyes closed. Isn't that interesting? Well, not everybody does. But
you can.
But the point is, not what we see is required to actually activate your soul. There's an internal landscape that is available to everyone. I think it's so sad that our society, which is just the nature of the beast, is so externally oriented. Mm-hmm. And I'm so impressed with you, went in and spent days in the dark facing yourself, because that's the internal world. So astrology gives you back to your soul. Mm-hmm. And the soul has no judgments. It's really, truly it's been in love with you. It's married to you. There's no divorce in heaven. You're stuck with you for the rest of the lifetimes you're going to have. So the sooner you figure out who you are and how lovable you are, I'm looking in this beautiful eyes and I see your soul. How can we resist? But unless we study this language, until we get to the compassionate voice, that mean little gremlin thing, who pays that guy? Why does he work so much? In the middle of the night.
Doesn't even pay rent.
He's like, I call them, what are they called in England? Those people that live in your house and you don't pay rent? Squatters. That little gremlin's a squatter. So this is what astrology does. It gives you the gift of identifying the voices that are nibbling and the negative trapdoor that gets so slippery. And the next thing you know, you're like, I know you. You sit down. You are not going to stare at me in the morning in my mirror. And by the way, I love who I am. That took me so long, Blue. I'm in my mid-60s, headed towards 70. It took me a long time to reach the point where I actually really like Deb. Wait. I wear my sun. This is Deb. She's on Permission to be yourself and not care what people think. Welcome to the aging process. Permission to dance in the middle of the story, break the rules. Hello, Miss 11th house. And know that your presence on earth must get articulated in detail of what did you sign up for. And once there's that awareness, I know, it feels so much better.
Mm-hmm. It literally is that giant exhale that you just did. I can feel it. Like with that really is like the soul actually landing in this physical body.
Exactly right.
As opposed to living from the outside in, living from the inside out. And
yes.
What I mean by that is as opposed to what the shoulds are of the world or the expectations or who I'm supposed to be based off of what my parents were, for example. It's actually going, what lights my soul on fire? How much context can I give? How much compassion can I hold for my crunchy? And then from that lovable place become so magnetic that what it is that I'm actually calling in aligns with me as opposed to chasing and grasping.
Exactly.
The power of astrology. You know, I'm really happy that you're the first astrologer I've had on the podcast because, I mean, what better to have the triple OG, but like also I just, the way that you deliver it is so tangible, and I feel like you create a bridge from the mundane to the miraculous.
That's exactly right.
And
because astrology is so full of jargon, can I just tell you, people talk about it and I can't follow. There's a million trillion astrologers out there and they're gifted and they're talented. And the challenge is what you just said. How do I bring it into your body? How do, like, I wear all these soft clothes, you wear all these soft clothes. This life is meant to be, on the back of my business card for like 20 years, it said the pleasure of being in a body. And no one ever asked me, like, why is an astrologer on the back of her business card, the pleasure? But that's the whole point. You made it. How do I get comfortable here? How do I accept this physical experience? What's the yum factors? What do I do to make sure, is it my best friend? Is it the yum clothes? Is it the healthy food? Like, what do I do to make this place secret sauce? And you're good at it. It's 4 planets in Scorpio. Can I just look at your chart? You have so much Scorpio.
I feel so honored, by the way, that you have my chart. I've heard such miraculous things about you from friends that have had you as an astrologer, and also just witnessing the amount of people that sign up for your courses. And I'm like, maybe one day she'll look at my chart.
You have, I correct myself, you have 4 planets in Scorpio, all in the 11th house. You mentioned it earlier, Pluto sitting on your sun. That happens once a year for just a few days, so it's very unusual. And Pluto is power in the name of the yum factor because it's in Scorpio.
Irresistible, right?
That's what I'm talking about.
That's why that quote by Tony Cade Bambara just like really runs as like a mantra of my life, which is, it's the artist's responsibility to make the revolution irresistible.
Say it once more.
It's the artist's responsibility to make the revolution irresistible.
I love that. So your chart. It's the artist's responsibility to make the revolution irresistible. So we can't say no.
Exactly. It's got to come from a radiance and a joy and a lightheartedness and a vitality and an agelessness. So it doesn't matter how many cycles around the sun we've actually gone on this epic expedition of being human. It's actually about the amount of beauty that radiates from the inside out because of the capacity in which one can love.
Makes me want to cry. That's your moon in Leo with Jupiter. Do you know this? When you look outside at the sky and the moon is standing next to a really bright planet, you got to pay attention to this. You were born when Jupiter, the biggest planet in the heavens, 100 times the size of Earth. So we're talking big, the planet of joy, abundance, fat, is sitting right next to the moon when you were born in Leo. So yes. So the drama and the intensity and the joy and the radiance, you came here this life to be our example. Like, I can do that if she can do it. And then your Sag rising, which is fire. So Leo, that moon in Leo, is also connected to your rising sign, which is fire, Sag. So you get so excited. And then all those planets in Scorpio, you must be a sexy little thing.
I'm tapping into her. She's coming out of the woodwork and out of the cracks. I'm single for the first time in 7 years, which I'm like, a whole new consciousness. And a lot of my life was navigated through
relationships.
Only sexiness is allowed in monogamous partnerships. It can't breathe anywhere else because it's bad. So now I'm like understanding what she is. I'm like, hello, sweetheart. We're back.
So Leo, can we talk about being single? Because this is a big conversation that exists in your generation and mine.
Please share
I am
your
also
thoughts
single.
on it.
And it's very unusual, especially being Libra rising, I must say.
Yeah,
How
girl.
did I get to be single as a Libra rising? What I found out was in preparation for this transition on planet Earth, we have to relinquish our attachment to romantic love being exclusively externalized. So I have had to fall in love with myself because I would have bumped into loneliness, and I changed the whole conversation. It's not been easy. It took me quite a bit of time. So to your point, there's a sexual freedom that your generation has given itself, which I'm completely mesmerized by. There's a bed in your living room.
Yeah.
Can we just talk about that for a minute? Can someone explain that to me? I just need a little information.
I mean, first and foremost, I love how observant you are. And as soon as you walked into the house, your ability to just absorb the environment, notice the little intricacies, your ability to listen beyond the words, but into the environment is impressive and also very deeply noticed. I don't know if you know much about the women that I live with, but I share a house with Layla Martin, and she is a world-renowned sex coach, therapist, guide. She does activations all over the world.
I love this story.
Yeah,
See, this is what I mean. This is the new generation that's allowing people to not do romantic love in the old way. But there's no one talking about this. This is a really, especially for my generation, because women get better as they get older. Can I say this?
Please say this.
Men lose their hair and their ding dong stops working. That's what happens. Did I just say that out loud? And it's not nice. The men lose their hair. The women start to get all energized. They get better and better and better. Like, finally, I can be myself. I don't care what you think. And they just like, and then we're like, uh-oh, what happened to like getting married and playing that house game and having that whole image, that whole storyline that came out of, I don't know, wasn't Mary Poppins. Was she married? No. What was the image? Where did we get the imprint that everyone had to get married to have kids and play house? I think that was my generation. I know.
I mean, it was pretty rampant.
Yes, it was everywhere.
It was everywhere. It was the propaganda was just slapped all over.
So you're changing the whole concept, your generation. We are representing too. And being single now is no longer a curse. It's an opportunity to distinguish your uniqueness and find out who you are on the inside and make love and be yourself in ways we never imagined. This is a really cool podcast because look at the generation difference.
I'm just realizing that right now.
Me too. Ding, ding, ding.
I'm feeling the wisdom that you're passing
because
on.
When I was young, I couldn't do what you're doing, like have a podcast where you could talk about sexuality and talk about everything you were interested in. I was limited to pretending I was a grown-up and acting normal and having kids and playing house, and I wasn't that good at it. I faked it. Is that okay to say? I mean, my kids are going to, but I did a really good job making dinners and driving kids to school and doing all that. But as soon as the door closed and emptiness began and I entered into the next era, which is what we're all walking into, I realized freedom. Now, what will I do with freedom?
This is the ripest topic on pretty much everyone in my immediate reality's tongue right now. And I think there's such a strong uniqueness in the wisdom that you hold and the amount of cycles you've done around the sun that has allowed that wisdom to be integrated. So instead of it just being knowledge, it's integrated into wisdom and it becomes who you are. And then sitting in real time on the podcast to then exchange it with me as a student and as a sister of you and everything that you share, it's activating me from a place of, it's almost like it feels like someone from the future is handing me a gift.
That's how I feel about you. Okay, want to hear my take on wisdom? Wiz, a wizard, a really smart person. The other half of the word is dumb.
Is them?
Wisdom.
The dumb.
Wisdom, like stupid. Like the word wisdom inherently has to be one half is a wizard and the other half is stupid. And that's how you get to wisdom, is knowing what you don't know and being willing to say, I'm confused. How did I end up single? How come people are not having children? How come people are having multiple relationships where they have open? I'm dumb. I can't, like for our generation, my friends were like, what are these kids? When I hear my friends talking about their daughters who are wanting more than one partner, and they're like, the whole thing is so up in the air about the, what's that called again? Polyamorous. And it's so beautiful, but it's kind of like, and then the wizard side says, hold on, here's the wisdom. If you're in love with yourself, if you really do know how to drop in and find comfort in your nervous system when you're alone, that's why I was so impressed with what you did. Now we're talking. That's wisdom. I am wise enough to know that I long for love and intimacy, and I'm dumb enough to admit that I get really scared if I'm alone too long. It's kind of funny.
I'll never look at that word ever the same ever again. The way that you just broke that word down, and also the sweet polarity and the paradox within that, and the necessary paradox to actually find that center point to oscillate between being a forever student and a forever teacher. And that's the sweet spot of wisdom.
And that's why I will take ownership of the word wisdom. For many years, people called me a wise woman when I was young, and I never understood it. And now at this age, I go, oh, yeah, I know. The one half of me, I'm a businesswoman. I have a company with 50 women. I have 30 mentors who've learned to study astrology with me, which I'm inviting you guys. on your podcast, I want you to take the class.
I really want to take
It's so simple. To your point, I teach astrology because there's so much jargon and language. I teach it as a psychologist. Like, you take the first, called level 1. It's not only about astrology, it's about you figuring out your missing element, figuring out what your internal dialogue is that keeps nibbling on you, figuring out what your shadow is, your favorite thing, the North Node, figuring out your life lesson. It's very simple. And at the end of level 1, that's all you got to take. If you finished and you were like, then you go to level 2 and you learn how to do a reading. But just level 1 is the opportunity for people to answer, like, how do I get the nibbling, the gremlin to be quiet? How do I face my loneliness or the part of me that doesn't really feel good at some million trillion reasons? And then people's lives change. And that's when they fall in love.
Isn't it the best watching someone give birth to themselves?
You can't imagine.
Oh, this is actually who I am. I've been magnificent since the moment I was born. Didn't have to do anything outside of just being alive. And that was enough. It's a gift. I'm curious how you see astrology weaving into the individuals that you work with that are high impact individuals, right? Like you have a school which be able to create a container for many people, whoever feels the curiosity to be a part of the experience, to learn from you. And also a lot of the people you work with are influencers of the masses. And so I'm curious from your perspective of weaving this wisdom into these spaces, how this is going to shift the direction we move in as a collective.
I think the Aquarian Age is the term that you're asking about. So there was 2,100 years. The last era was called the Piscean Age. That was when Christ was here. So the whole story was follow, belong to a sangha, belong to a church, belong to a temple, do what we tell you to do. That was the last 2,000 years. Then the 60s arrived and they said, forget that. And off came their bras and on came the drugs, the plant medicine, everything was introduced, and we're not going to stay married and we're not going to. So the whole system broke, so to speak. And enter astrology. So in the future, whatever level of consciousness you're at now, starting now, this conversation began of be yourself, find out who you are. That was not true in the last 2,100 years. If you think back to religion or the historical backdrop that we came from, there was no acceptance for you to step away from the community. We lived in small communities. If you were weird, you were banished. And where did you get your food? And who did you hang out with? So you couldn't afford to ever leave the group until the Aquarian Age. Now, let's live communally in a house with a bed in the living room. Okay, let's drink green juice first thing in the morning. Okay, let's not drink green juice. Let's just go straight for the coffee. And we'll put some coconut oil. I mean, the newest ideas that have been entered into the Aquarian Age do not resemble where our parents, grandparents, and grandparents came from. So we're in the transition. You're asking, how do we prepare for the future? I love that I'm in your energy and I'm feeling your 11th house. And you're asking about how do celebrities or these very influential people make a difference? It's all the same. Take a deep breath, calm your nervous system, remember who you are, and follow the 4 elements. This is really, you know this, in my book. That book has never stopped giving. That's why Sting endorsed it. I got to work with him for a year and a half. That was such a beautiful thing, you reading that. I forget about that quote. Celebrity. The point is, where's my capacity to come home? How do I get my yum factor, my body to be at peace? What do I do when I want to think about God or goddess or those invisible? How do I make peace with this crazy reality? This place is the strangest planet I've ever been on. I was on the airplane and I said this to the man sitting next to me and he said, where else have you been? I was like, you won't get it. But honestly, this is the strangest. And you know this, because I don't think you're from here. Tell the truth. You don't operate in the same free. Okay, we're catching her right now, live time. Here, I'll put my sunglasses back on. You are not from here. Tell them.
Debra, you're giving away my
Secrets.
disguise.
Her little Scorpio secrets.
At the end of the day, I just unzip this flesh suit and out pops this like weird alien thing. Like,
I wouldn't be surprised. I would not be surprised. And why do we call them weird aliens? Because we don't understand how to see beyond the physical.
Yeah, for real.
Can you imagine if we all wore sunglasses with x-rays and we could see each other's souls?
I think that it's like The epitome of what beauty is when somebody's soul radiates, like the amount of love that pours out of every fiber of their being, and recognizing the 75 trillion cells that are dancing and vibrating at every thought that is emanated. And those thoughts are purified to a place of acceptance of self, therefore acceptance of others. Then all of a sudden, doesn't matter what flesh puppet that person's incarnated into, they become the most beautiful person ever because of the radiance of their heart.
Is that what happens to you? Do you see through people?
Oh, 1000%. The second I meet someone, I've got like a full read. Well, because I'm hard of hearing. I'm wearing my hearing aids right now, and I thought it was really interesting. At the beginning, you talked about how you
hear different things.
I am genuinely tuned into different frequencies, and Albert Einstein talks about how energy is not created nor destroyed; it's only changed in form. So if it's not going here, it's going more into the extrasensory perception of feeling. So the second I meet someone, it doesn't matter like the external flesh puppet. It's the heart resonance that I feel, and it's how the individual's illuminated in the presence of, or feel a little bit more contracted. I'm picking up on all of the subtle cues. So it's not about the words themselves, it's the vibration behind them, and the vibration determines where it's coming from, whether it's the heart or the mind. Super fun.
I want to see through your visual, your hearing. That just gave me the will. I mean, made me feel, you gave me back to me just there, that if I could see through your way of seeing the world, this is what astrology does too. Mm-hmm. It gives you the eyes of love. Mm-hmm. That the external world is just the illusion, and that the soul continues across time. And every time we incarnate, we just change little packages, including the ETs.
Tell me about your relationship with ETs.
Shh. Come on. Here she goes. See
Debra,
what it's like when you have a Scorpio?
Give me the juice.
They go straight to the secrets.
I'm here for it. I can feel it. I also just like the little not so subtle seed that you planted of being like, oh yeah, my experience on this planet is a bit of a funny one. I'm like, oh, my Scorpio just like, ding, it freaks up, and I'm like, oh, now we're getting to the juice.
And I probably haven't publicly come this clean with this, but it happened in my 20s. That I had an experience on some medicine. I was very young, didn't really understand, and I was teleported to another place and shown and talked to for hours and told what I would be doing here this lifetime. It makes me a little self-conscious talking about it.
I get it, and I just want to breathe the permission in this space that this is exactly the space for this narrative, and I meet you in those places. I've had many experiences where I have been in communication with the blue beings, hence blue, and... That's who I was. Oh, I got the willies. That's who I was sitting next to. She was a liquid blue being.
Right? Yes, this really
almost
long, iridescent. It was like
skinny
liquid.
And tall.
Yes, but she. That's so funny. That was the first being I saw, and we were sitting in a council, and it was our job, all of us sitting on the council. This is getting kind of weird. That. She was having distress on her planet, and we were there as a collective to provide the listening. And there was like a lazy Susan in the middle where you turn the thing around, and everyone was there, and I was sitting at the table, and there was some unusual looking beings, and they put me on the table and just gave me very clear directives to this moment that I would be a voice that would be able to allow people, because I look like the girl next door, or I resemble you have a very exotic flavor. I look kind of like a normal person. Maybe a little, kind of.
I'm hot ice 5,000.
Well, yeah, because you see through people. But I identify, my gift is to speak English and to assist people to come into their bodies. So I've never really thought of myself as being woo-woo. But as the years have gone by, I've come public with, I never said this before, but I have had a direct encounter, and it continued. And I was given direction, and it's never left me. So I get home office directives. They come and send me messages, and then my job is to translate and to manifest and to form the school that I've created so people can get access to remembering. I'm kind of like, I was born the year of the cock-a-doodle-doo. I live on an island where everybody goes cock-a-doodle. These roosters are everywhere. And I was born during the year of the rooster. So it's kind of like, wake up, you guys. Nothing's wrong. It appears that we're going through a big transition. It's true. And the planet will not survive as we know it. But of course she'll survive. The human species, on the other hand, we need a little updating. And that's what my next book is about. We have some design faults. There are some very inherent problems that are built into the human psyche, including your internal dialogue that says things that aren't true. And until you can distinguish the voice of truth and where the healing comes from, you're suddenly looking very different. Until you can,
You just said about the rooster. One of my last names, my father's last name is Faruja, which is the Farok, which is the rooster, which is to wake people up. And you said that, I was like, what is happening?
Because you're Sagittarius rising. Your soul, the rising sign announcement, people don't know this because there's so much information about astrology that kind of bothers me because it's not so accurate and it's too jargon and too many words. The rising sign, the ascendant, another word, is Sagittarius for you. So that's the clue of what you're rising into. Sagittarius is the loudest, funniest, bluntest truth teller in the zodiac. They think everything's funny. Even when it's bad, they think it's funny. And they're here to tickle us into honesty that says, why are you even worried? Everything's going to work out. They're the most optimistic, lighthearted. They love to travel, go to the most exotic places. I know this is true of you. And take the biggest risks and jump off cliffs and say, I don't care. I'm not scared. Why don't you jump with me? And we're like, do we have to follow her? And she's like, so excited we can't resist her. That's your rising sign. That's your soul. That's where we're headed. In astrology, you head towards your rising sign. That was a little tidbit that they don't tell you. In regular books, they describe the rising sign as the body type, which is also true because the soul is the body and the body doesn't lie. So your Sagittarius rising came in this life with this very joyful, ridiculous humor system that thinks everything is funny, running at the speed of light, and has more chi because you're double fire than most people. Now, the good news is you're never going to get bored. You will make everything fun.
That's literally the feedback from two of my longest relationships, both of 3 and 3.5 years. Both of them said, if we were to sum this up, there was never a boring moment. Ever.
Welcome to Sagittarius rising. The downside is it's hard to keep up with.
Yeah.
Because your honesty, your enthusiasm, and your excitement are a little unusual because your moon's in fire, moon in Leo, and your rising's fire Sag. That's a double fire sign. So it gives you a lot more chi. I can relate. I have a lot of fire in my chart.
You're my sister, like full on. I'm so excited that I'm actually being able to have the blessing of having such a concentrated
conversation. And it's all your intuition. You get a lot of credit for this. I wouldn't be here if that was so random.
I think you just like called me on the third iPhone. Like you just had.
See what I mean?
The thing is with telepathy is that both people have to be tuned in. Otherwise, if you're calling someone on the third iPhone and they're not answering because they're not listening, right? You're like, hey, I've been calling you for 4 days straight on the third iPhone, but your third iPhone seems to be on airplane mode, And it's like, your third iPhone is clearly switched on. And I think that you pinged me some subconscious message that I picked it up in the quantum. I was like, ding!
Well, I'm doing that to your audience right now. I'm sending them telepathy and saying to them, you guys, listen to me. Look up. This physical plane is not what you think it is. There's an entire organization going on far beyond your mind. Einstein said it best. God is not playing with dice. This is not random. This is organized, said the astrologer, in perfect order. However, let's be honest, the human has some design faults. We're not built for wisdom. We're kind of dumb by nature. We do broken records. We say stupid things. We break people's hearts. We get addicted. We get lazy. Who put that in there? When it comes time to forgive, oh my God, I don't even know how. Somebody help me. Oh, there's no one teaching it? That's too bad. Who made that up? Why would we be built to be lazy, anxious, depressed, and not know how to forgive? I didn't make it up. I am sitting on that council with this blue being sitting next to me who looks just like you, and I'm trying to figure out how I can say to you, don't worry. There is an update occurring.
Yes.
We are getting ready for the Aquarian Age. We're smack dab in it, and it will not be comfortable until there's people like Blue who inspire us to think, oh, this isn't so bad after all. That's your gift.
Is the amount of medicine that is pouring out of you, not only just for the people that are listening and watching and for the two magical individuals that are in this space, but like I am receiving so much. It's like a balm to my soul. Like I feel like I'm being bathed in like a chamomile bath or something.
And that's part of my dream this life is to be an activation point of healing that we can realize that nothing's wrong. See, that's the problem. The whole planet is suffering because we know this climate crisis is real. We don't talk about it because we think it's wrong. Can you imagine? Here's my best analogy. You've never seen a woman give birth before. You're from another planet. And you see this woman, they're doing the weirdest thing in this bed. They're like making these really weird noises and they're having this. You're like, that's weird. The two of them, I don't know, naked, lying on the bed, weird. Then the next thing you know, it's about 2 months later and she's like throwing up. You're like, well, that's weird. Like, that doesn't even look right. And then suddenly this thing sticks out. And all you're thinking is, help the girl, help the girl. Wait, it gets worse. Now we're at the final hour and she's screaming. Now, at this point, if you didn't know, you'd be like, get the thing off her. That thing, it's that thing. No, just sit still. A little bit of wisdom. Everybody calm down. Watch this. And out comes this little thing with little eyelashes. Hold on. Little eyelashes, little finger. And you're like, that's so beautiful. And your heart breaks open and you're nursing the baby and you're like, whoa, we would never have known. Okay, stop everyone. We're in the midst of a woman screaming. And some of you are like, something's wrong, something's wrong. And others of us are saying, oh, you're making me cry. Others of us are saying, be wise enough to take a breath. This has been orchestrated from the highest levels. How dare you think that the sun ever goes deviant? The moon never stops its rhythm. We always know where the planets are every single day for thousands of years. You don't think there's an organization here? Just because your mind doesn't get it? Bad design. The mind does not have obedience to the soul until it's taught. Mm-hmm. And so my healing, the feeling you're feeling is, I'm all excited because we're right around the corner from us waking up to knowing how to be calm, to trust, to have faith. And that's my gift this lifetime. Mm-hmm. I came in through such a horrible beginning. My childhood was so, if I tell you, it's just too much to go through. But the short answer is it was trauma from the moment my grandfather was murdered when I was 1.5 years old. So the entire story began there, but it never stopped until I left home. I had an ulcer. I had bad skin. I was suffering so much. And then I found therapy. And then I found astrology. Mm-hmm. I was like, oh, well, that explains a lot. And as the years have gone by, I found great comfort in meditation, in being able to feel the wind, in taking deep breaths. I've really learned the formula, and it's all in my book. So if any of you are curious, it's as simple as this. The missing element, guess what? Inspiring compassion for the human condition. Be compassionate. We're just a little goofy. And the good news is we're being upgraded, and these people that live in this house and your community are upgrading the system. And thank you for coming onto this planet. I was the OG. What's the new one? You're the BG. The baby gangster. I'm the old gangster. She's the baby guy. I made it up. Lifetime right here. Oh my God. I'm an OG. You're a BG. You're a baby gangster. You're just beginning to change the whole system and break the rules and not follow. My sunglasses.
Yeah. The sunglasses add such a different dimension.
You're bringing out the best. Thank you. This is definitely, when they ask me in my company, the PR girl is going to say, how was the podcast? You're going to get a 10. I score all of them. Maybe a 12.
Yes, this is the best. I am overfilled with joy. You're taking me on a journey, a roller coaster with your stories, your words, the way you deliver them, the embodiment. And I just want to say thank you for the courage for you to share the depth of your experience beyond this planet and beyond this lifetime. And I think that it's such a challenging dance to be presented in the limelight, in a public eye, and to go so woo-woo. However, actually, what I would like to think is not believing in something beyond this planet is more woo-woo to me. I'm like, if we just look out at the stars and see a starry night sky and think we're the only ones here, I think that's a little woo-woo, no?
That's a little crazy. Is your dog licking my hand?
She's feeling you right now. She's an extension of me, so she's come over and she's just letting you know, like, we're really vibing you, Debra Silverman. You're a legend.
The sweetest little thing. Thank you so much for all the love.
She's feeling it.
Thank you so much. Makes me want to cry. You're the cutest thing. Can she sit on my lap?
Come on down.
She just wanted to make a point.
She's on every podcast, and she vibes a bit different with different guests. And sometimes when it's really popping off, she goes over and just like gives you a little confirmation. She's like, I like you. And this is how I'm going to show it.
You know, I just want to speak to that what you just spoke to is that in this lifetime, I had to navigate as you, because I have Scorpio in my chart, the deepest, darkest places inside my psyche and through my childhood to find out that all of this was a practice to see if we could go down to go up. And that the human nature, this is what my book is about, that human nature, we have to get sick to get healed here. That's the nature of Earth. You have to go down to go up. And by the way, the planet should be called water because it's blue. That we get so fixated on this planet about results and money and security and physical plane. That's what happens down here, that it becomes so distracting. So I want to say that in the pursuit of evolution, for those of you that watch podcasts and are watching Blue, there is hope because we are as a species raising up the frequency because of this podcast, because you're interested in the metaphysical world, because we're changing the narrative. It really is changing. And I've watched the beginning of where we never were allowed to talk about it. I mean, if you knew how much stigma I got for being an astrologer.
I can only imagine.
It was so unpopular.
The fact that you stayed on your path, no matter what was presented to you, because it's easier for me. And it's already pretty challenging, like being in the public eye, essentially, and speaking about taboo topics in today's day and age. But where you have...
Okay, can I tell you one of my best stories? You're going to love this. Jill Bolte Taylor, the #2 podcast or TED Talk in the world. She is a brain scientist, one of my favorite people. I was invited to a gathering of scientists, and I introduced myself when we started off that I was an astronomer because I got a little... She just brought me as a guest, as a friend. I wasn't supposed to be there. All scientists sitting in a circle. So I said I was an astronomer. And then halfway was lunchtime, and I felt bad, like, they all think I'm an astronomer. This isn't good. So I couldn't keep it in because I have Sag in my chart. So I said, I just have to confess. I'm really not an astronomer. I'm an astrologer. And the guy sitting next to me said, what? You were so interesting. I can't even believe you're an astrologer, and just poo-pooed me for the rest of it. And that was an example of I was completely disregarded because I changed that word. And I lied and told the truth, which I thought was kind of funny. And then found out that when you tell classical scientists, in fact, most normal people, that you're an astrologer, they go, you're a what? And it's the oldest science on earth. So I've just never, ever backed down. And I say, I also have a master's degree in clinical psychology, so I'm legit. And please don't close your mind, because pretty soon you're going to need to know that looking up and trusting in souls, in the faith of this existence is the thing that's going to get us through this. So I always ask people, tell me about your faith. What do you believe in? What do you know for sure? Tell us, Blue. What do you know for sure? Putting her on the spot.
I know for sure that I'm really good at praying and playing.
Sagittarius.
That's pretty much it.
And you're really good at it.
Thank you.
You do it with everything you got.
Whole heart. My whole heart. And I was also guided and shown that if all I ever had for the rest of my life was my healing touch, that would be enough. That would take me everywhere I needed to go. And that simplified everything. So it's very simple. It's very basic, but I think also once we go from the simplicity to the complexity, we come back to the simplicity again. And that's really what I feel like I can rest in. And my whole life revolves around that. And also I know to be true that I genuinely love people. Like I genuinely care for people's well-being. And that has been with me since I was a kid. And it just continues to navigate the world with me. And there is a quote by one of my teachers, Ichiro, that shared with me, I don't know what the truth is, but I know what love feels like, and I follow that.
Do it again. I don't know.
I don't know what the truth is, but I know what love feels like, and I follow that.
I'm in love with you. You're such a love bug. So this is back to can we talk about the book? You have so much water, 4 planets in water.
I would love to talk about this book and the missing element, and also how elements play a part of understanding our own awareness, understanding how we navigate with the earth, understanding how we are one with the earth, and that the earth is our body, the water is our blood, the air is our breath, and the fire is our spirit, and like how we are directly interconnected.
Who needs me when we got you? That was good. So first of all, do you know the tarot deck?
Yoga?
The tarot deck?
Tarot deck, yes. And I love
So the
tarot.
first card of the tarot deck is the Fool, 0.
The most powerful one, right?
You jump off this planet, come here like an idiot. You got to be a fool to get here. Who was thinking?
Smiling though.
And 8 billion people, everyone and their cousin wanted to come. Pick me. Okay, we all jump in. Here comes the Fool. And then the very first card, get ready, is the Magician. Mm-hmm. And on his table are the four elements. The very card number 1. You cannot manifest in this world. You cannot find balance. You will not be yourself until you understand the power of creation. Mm-hmm. water, air, earth, and fire. And that's what the book is about. Isn't that interesting that the very first card is the magician? And he's working with the 4 elements? I love that story.
I love that story too. And I actually hadn't put it in that context. I work with tarot, but like, yeah.
And the evolution of that book, I do have a series on my website about the tarot because it's all, do you know this? In the tarot deck, there's 22 major arcana cards, 10 of which are referred to as planets and 12 are the signs. So there's 22 major arcana. They found the deck in the 15th century. They didn't know about Pluto until 1930, but they left the card called Death, which is the Pluto card, in the 22 cards. So they knew enough back in the 15th century that astrology was at the framework of all the tarot cards. Hold on a minute. Good job, Deb. I'm so in love with those cards. I'm so in love with that system. And it's based right there in the 4 elements.
I'm so excited to continue to weave through this book. You gifted me this in person when we had dinner together. And I think what really drew me to this book is your embodiment. Like it's actually the embodiment of every syllable that you place on this page and where it comes from that creates a resonance within it. And that's why I believe this book will land in the hearts of those that are vibrating in alignment with their truth and also those that are curious enough to find out who it is that they are.
And you don't even know any astrology. It's completely just elemental. There's no astrology in the book. 0, nada, none. Isn't that surprising? An astrologer would write a book without any astrology in it because I wanted to make it so embodied and so simple, to your point, that people could take it into them and it would shift something. And I've gotten really good feedback about that book. And the new book is even more fun because now I get to say to everybody, you know what? You can swear on this, right? I can swear. You're all fucked up, but don't feel bad. You were designed that way. And by the way, astrology is medicine.
Thank you for swearing. You know I like it, right? Like, you know my chart.
And like, every human here is fucked up. You come with a fucked up system, the operating system. No one ever told you that. How are you supposed to get it right? But when you learn the 4 elements and you come back to basics, so let's do it. Water, you're displaying it now. Compassionate sensitivity, cry at the drop of a hat, love sexuality, love yum yum, love animals, and don't like words. They want everyone to be quiet. That would be Cancer, Scorpio, and Pisces. Shh. Air. Oh my God, can they talk? Mars and Gemini, Gemini over here, Gemini over there, blah, 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 blah. They are the communicators, the verbalizers. They think all the time. They communicate. They think they're so funny. They can't remember things. They want multiple relationships and they get bored in a second, so they're going to go somewhere else. Sorry, but they need to be entertained. They have a lot of intellectual stimulation and they have fascinations with just about everything and everyone. Welcome to Air. Little bit of an airhead. Third category, Earth. Hold on, everybody. Is this real? Where is practicality? Money, numbers, getting things done, being on time, having everything situated. We have spreadsheets, we have taxes, we have insurance, and we have cars to fix. Practical people. Don't put the fork upside down in the dishwasher. How many times have I told you that? Oh my God. Why don't you just do the dishes? I'm going to do the dishes. I always do the dishes. I'm always the organized one here. I'm always taking care of the money. Okay, stop complaining. Earth. And the last category where we match, fire. I'm so excited. Oh my God, are we going to go have a party today? We're going to do a podcast? I'm wearing my favorite little outfit. I got my sunglasses on. I'm so cool. Hold on a minute. I'm going to go work out. Then I'm going to go do yoga. Then I'm going to go do hot yoga. Then I'm going to go have some plant medicine, go to altered state so I can open up the door. Fire. Water, the sensitive one. Air, the one that can't stop talking. Earth, trying to keep us all under control. And fire, are we having a party yet? Because I'm not staying if we're not having a party. I wear my sunglasses at night. This is the best podcast. I feel like I'm in a movie or something.
You totally are in a movie. You are the main character energy.
No, we're in the movie together.
We're in a movie together, but we've both got main roles. I'm feeling it super strongly.
Definitely. Starring the two of us.
100%. We're like these sister dynamic duo that just
People
navigate the movie.
People are going to watch this. They're going to go, Blue, that was a crazy interview. What were you guys on? Straight as a pin. Straight as a pin right here.
It's full permission. It's full permission to recognize actually being human is one of the strangest, wildest, wacky, weirdest, most discombobulating and ecstatic states we could ever be in.
And why do you think there's 8 billion people here? Because everybody wants to try it.
Yeah.
They're standing in line. They can't stop. There's a long line. Please pick me, pick me. I'm like, right now you want to come in? Because it's kind of going to get strange. Oh no, I want to come in. Babies everywhere.
Right.
What's up with that?
I mean, it's a reality of infinite possibilities and multidimensionals all happening at the same time. I want in. Let me experience it. There's also great suffering and massive division propaganda.
Didn't hear that part.
Oh, it's in the fine print at the bottom. Fuck it, I'm going in. Sign my name on the dotted line. What the heck?
Oh my God, that's so funny. They come in crying and they leave crying.
Totally, and that dash in between is ultimately what you do.
It is just a dream.
It's just a dash. It's like a date. You come in, a dash, and then a date you leave.
And it seems like it takes so long, and then it seems like it goes so slow.
Yeah.
I'm so confused. Wisdom. I'm really good at the dumb part. I'm like, could they have given me a little more information? Not that I wouldn't have shown up here. It's just that when I'm going through hard times, I'm like, I'm so confused by why they couldn't have given us like a memo, like an email, like an H-mail, from heaven. Like just giving us, that's what a chart is. It's a little bit of information to make the thing a little less confusing.
It would be, well, actually, I think that's astrology.
I know.
That's the email. Like you are the embodiment of the little letter that comes in from Hogwarts that is delivered by an owl. And it's like dropped in.
It's so funny you said
that's what it feels like.
That's
you just
my
delivered
spirit
for me.
animal.
You are the mail from Hogwarts that's delivered by an owl that just drops in, that just fly in through your window and be like, oh yeah. Not only you signed for this, but you're also fully equipped with some pretty majestic qualities.
Okay, you're going to love this story. So I worked at a school in Vancouver, Canada. I lived there for 20 years. It was a school, a very high-level school, and they let me teach the elements to the kids.
Ooh.
And I went to every classroom and taught the teachers about each kid's chart. So I would have said, oh, you have Blue in your classroom? She might get a little excited. Do not repress her. Let her go outside to run. She's going to need to move some energy.
And they're past the window like, ah!
So I had the 4 kids sitting in the categories, the little water kids all sitting all cuddled, the little air kids raising their hand, excuse me, the little earth kids with all their little computer and their little papers, and the little fire kids. Can we go to recess? So I explained to them, you guys, you have 4 different personality types. And the little air kid raises his hand and he goes, I think my mom's water, because when we bought the new house, she cried when we left the last house, and we got to the new house and she cried again. Is that water? It raised her hand. Excuse me, I think my brother's fire. He laughs so loud, my mom and dad have to tell him to tone it down a little. And they got it immediately because these 4 elements are so simple and they're so intrinsic. Can you imagine if you knew in school or your mom knew when you were born, this little girl has 4 planets?
Change 15 years.
Of your mom getting mad at you.
I mean, I love you, Mom. She's probably watching this. But more so also like the educational system of, you just pick a major as close to what it is that you want to do as possible, which then like kind of, it's a couple of degrees away. But a couple of degrees away, you start, it doesn't seem like that much, but you follow a couple of degrees out for like 15 years. All of a sudden, like, why am I so far away from the thing that lights me up from the inside out? And yet from the outside, it looks like I'm doing the right thing. And I've got, like, can check all of the things of what society deems as successful. And I am making X amount of money that has directly deposited into my bank account every 2 weeks. And I have this sustainability, but I'm numb, dead on the inside. And so when you're sharing about the children and you infusing your wisdom into these children, for them to actually conceptually shift their lens to receive the magnificence of who they are from the right context at a young age, I'm like, this is the future.
I know.
It's everything. And I'm so grateful that no matter what happened on your path and just the little snippet you've shared about your journey, how you've alchemized your challenge into gold, and from gold, you've allowed yourself to serve others. You are the definition of an alchemist, working with the elements, navigating the stars, and implementing it into the places that are needed the most. Like, thank you. Thank you.
Well, I did it because of the reason why you're doing this podcast, because I'm in love. And I'm in love with the creators, not the human condition. That part I have some adjustments. I think when they see me coming at the end of this movie, when I get home and they see Debra come, they're like, don't let her in. I've got so many complaints about how they designed the human. I could give them a list. When we get to that council, I'm like, what were you thinking? How did you design us with those crazy things? Too much free will to allow us to have evil thoughts? Okay, we won't go there now because they've heard enough of this. The point was, yes, I came here because I'm in love. And I see it in you. And I'm inviting all of you to fall in love because there's only one reason to be here.
Mm-hmm.
to be able to say thank you. You know why we live forever? Because it takes that long to say thank you. Okay, I think we did it, guys. It's a wrap. Watch this. Take your sunglasses off.
Yeah.
That was the best podcast. Can we just talk about your ability to bring in energy and focus and stay on task and not lose the thread? Not many people can handle my energy. I feel totally comfortable with you.
I'm like swimming in your energy. I'm going to be high for the rest of the day, if not the rest of the week.
That.
I feel so,
I'm so thankful.
I feel like you're like a human form of IB drip. Like all my micronutrients are like, and I'm like, I'm good now. Like those like mundane things that would like rough me a little up. I'm like, I know why I'm here. We're fine.
You're bringing the future to us. You're backwards. You came from the future into the now. 4 planets in the 11th house. That was your promise, and you're doing a great job. Thank you.
This is why I do what I do.
That's
to be
right.
able to not only for selfish purposes, to like have a very in-depth, dense, rich conversation with immaculate individuals like yourself, and be able to learn and become a student, but also be able to capture it so that it lives beyond just this conversation. And yet also the cameras kind of just blur out. I'm like, I'm right here with you.
I love Scorpio so much. I
emotional
love Scorpio. People say bad things about Scorpios. I love how they can focus on love when they're in the high road. And that's what you learn in our school. There's a low road to every sign in a
the
high road.
Scorpion, the eagle, the phoenix.
That's right.
Uh-huh.
And it's actually the snake and the scorpion. You got it. Then comes the eagle, who doesn't want to get dirty. They wear all white. And then comes the phoenix, who's the number 8. From the ashes to the heights to the depths without any resistance.
Ooh, I've never heard it framed like that.
Yeah, I've been doing this for a little while.
Yeah,
okay, can we stop now? I'm done talking. Hello, that was so much fun, and I'm so glad we did this, and I have to go now.
We're wrapping it up. We're bringing it in, and
that was so
honestly,
perfect.
Thank you. You are, I mean, I've already like just fanned your flames in all of the ways, but I am just so excited for the sisterhood, this connection, and just what just continues to weave. And anytime you're in LA, please feel free to come back on the podcast. We'd love to have you. You're always open to invite welcome here. And anytime you have a course or a book that it would be a future book that you're about to release, anything you want to just come back on and have a chat. We have so many beautiful listeners from all over the world that just will continue to eat up the medicine that you bring. So thank you, Debra Silverman. You are such a gift to all of us. But all of your information will be in the show notes and the link, so that people can continue to follow and learn from the majesty of who you be and the alchemical process of shifting what was once coal into the gold that is now shared with all of us. You're such a blessing.
Thank you.
Oh, to all of you beautiful humans, thank you so much for tuning into another episode of the Deja Blu Podcast. If you resonate with today's episode, please go ahead and share it on your Instagram stories. Take a screenshot, tag myself, Debra Silverman, blast it. Let's send this message out far and wide, because with your support, we can reach many more people way more efficiently. And the invitation here is, if you are not into astrology, or you are just learning, or you're deep on the path, regardless, it's a living transmission. There's always something to learn. And so this is an invitation to go back into those internal waters, start to ask the deeper questions, shifting the narrative from wrong and right into acceptance and compassion for all that is, recognizing that there is a perfection that lies within you, and all it's requesting and requiring is your permission to allow it to breathe. Until next week, thank you so much for tuning into the Deja Blu Podcast. Sending you so much love.